My top 10 most complimented fragrances of all time for men. Now, as always, I just want to preface this by saying, not only is this coming from somebody who used to work in niche fragrance, specifically for the House of Creed, but more importantly, it's coming from someone who fell in love with fragrance almost 7 years ago now. And, fell down the rabbit hole here on YouTube and on other socials and forums and stuff, trying to figure out, what works, what garners the most compliments, what's the most mass appealing, and what I like most of all, right? And sadly, going through that tunnel, fell into the trap of some dishonest people on the platform that were just trying to make a little bit of commission, get a little bit of money into their pockets from products or sponsorships and stuff like that. But at the same time, I did find the people that I could trust, and now, after having garnered that experience for almost 7 years now, I'm here to hopefully give a more objective opinion on all of it. Now, with that being said, I do have 10 fragrances in front of me here, and they are the most complimented fragrances out of my whole collection, to my knowledge, but I am starting from 10th place to first place, with 10th place being the least complimented of this bunch. All of these have garnered their ample amount of compliments. And of course, I'll always have the timestamps in the description as well if you ever want to skip around, along with the products listed through Amazon affiliate links as well. Now, to start us off with our 10th place fragrance, it is going to be from Hugo Boss, and it is Boss Bottled Intense. Now, this fragrance is amazing. It's beautiful. It is this very spicy, this warm spicy, right? Perfect for that sort of cozy weather, the winter, fall, the cooler weather, the nighttime sort of life. This very warm, spicy cinnamon apple pie fragrance, right? It is this beautiful date night, younger date night cologne. Now, the thing with this is that the scent profile is incredible, and I think it is beautiful for a date night setting. The thing with this though is that its performance is pretty lacking, right? The longevity and projection of this one is sadly pretty poor, especially for a warmer fragrance. I would assume that is why this one is sadly discontinued, although you can find it pretty frequently and easily for resale and bidding and stuff like that. But aside from its poorer performance, I would say that this is probably perfect for a younger date night, right? I think any age could pull this off. Genuinely, I'll still find myself wearing this one time to time, but it just seems the most optimal. Like for me, I just think about I'm like, dang, I wish I knew about this when I was 16, 17, 18, taking my girlfriend out, in high school and, going to the movies, dinner, the park, whatever. I think that this would have been like a perfect fragrance for that sort of setting. Just leans a bit more cute in the masculine department. Our next fragrance in 9th place is going to be in the opposite direction in the performance department, and it is going to be Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultra Male. Now, this is the dark blue and black striped bottle. This fragrance, I love it. As you can tell, I don't know if there's a very appropriate way of showing how low this fragrance is running, but I think you can see the fragrance is just below the buttocks almost. But this fragrance is a beautiful young party sort of fragrance. I think of like college kid going to a nightclub, house party, that sort of thing. It is this very strong vanillin fragrance, right? It almost leans unisex, and it has this beautiful top note of pear as well, which I think is so unique and you don't smell very often. And I think that in combination with the vanilla, I just love it so much, man. I really do. But like I was saying, the fruitiness and the vanilla heavy profile of this fragrance leans a bit more unisex, to the point where when I first smelled it, I was like, wow, like if I smelled a woman wearing this, I'd be like, yeah, that's a perfume. And that is a huge fundamental, more objective fundamental, I'd say, with fragrance that I didn't know in the beginning, and that took me a while to learn, is that unisex fragrances seem to tend to be more attractive overall, more mass appealing overall, but especially more attractive to the feminine nose. At least opposed to like an overwhelmingly masculine fragrance with all these different woods and musks and this barbershop-esque sort of profile. You just see more women leaning more towards those unisex, cleaner, sometimes sweeter fragrances, right? Not to say that women don't like those, some more masculine, woodsy, musky fragrances as well, right? But objectively, you will see more fragrances like this that lean a bit more unisex being rated a bit better from the feminine nose. I think that is why this fragrance specifically has garnered me more compliments from women. Specifically, it's garnered me compliments across the board, but specifically from women. And the longevity and projection of this fragrance is an absolute beast. It is ridiculous. I remember spraying this on my arm. I'm usually just spraying stuff on my clothes nowadays. I remember spraying it on my arm and I was like, oh wait, like I want to wear something else. And I ended up taking a shower and I remember like scrubbing my left forearm for like multiple intervals. And I was like, this thing is a beast. It was a happy mistake, but Jean-Paul Gaultier does not play around. And I do think you could get away with this on, you know, a more date night sort of setting, but you would just want to pull the application back by a lot, right? Maybe just like one spray to like the back of the neck or back of the shirt or something like that. Otherwise, if you're going to be, you know, picking up somebody in the car and you're wearing this, you don't want to be choking out your date or anything like that, right? Now, next up in our number 8 spot, we have a fragrance from Versace, and it's going to be Versace Dylan Blue. Now, this fragrance, I always say this has to be one of the most versatile fragrances of all time in every regard. I mean, the longevity and projection of this fragrance is very solid, like above baseline, I'd say. It's above that average solid performance. It's going to be lasting quite a while. It's got longevity and projection taken care of in performance. It's got the fragrance profile that is very mass appealing as well. You can wear it to almost any occasion as well. I think any sort of weather. I could see somebody wearing this in the gym. I could see somebody wearing it on a date. I could see somebody wearing it in the office. And another box that this ticks is pricing. This fragrance, for a designer fragrance that is this versatile, I think you can find this for like 40, less than 50 bucks, less than 50 for sure. And that's for a full 100 milliliter. The only thing, which isn't even like really a thing to be worried about realistically, but the only thing is that with Versace Dylan Blue is the saturation. If you're worried about the saturation of it in a social regard, since it is name brand, since it is designer, and since it is so available and cheap for a fragrance in general, it's going to be such an easy pickup for a lot of people. So I was wearing this, I think when I was like 17, 18, I ended up getting my hands on a bottle and was wearing this all the time. But I've also met men over the age of like 40 wearing this fragrance as well. So I know that some people, including myself, sometimes, you know, you'd rather be wearing a fragrance that, you know, is a bit more unique, a bit more niche, that sort of thing. But overall, when you think about it, right, it's like single digit percentage of men that are even putting on a fragrance in their day to day. And then it's like, what's the likelihood of that small percentage of people putting on the same fragrance as you, right? But Dylan Blue is this very, it's this very like ambery, I mostly get the grapefruit, I think. It's this ambery grapefruit, like citrusy sort of vibe. It's not too heavy on the citrus at all, I'd say. It's mostly that amber, and that ambery profile makes it so appropriate for like so many occasions, man. Seriously. It's like if you're like gonna be stranded on an island and someone was like, you only get to take one fragrance. I'd probably reach for the Dylan Blue, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Now our 7th place fragrance is going to be from Roja Parfums and is going to be Elysium. Now Elysium is this very premium, luxurious, grapefruit heavy fragrance. And I will be saying grapefruit a lot because that is what I get from this fragrance overall. I believe it is a top note in this fragrance. It's listed as a top note, but it's what I'm getting all the way through wearing this, even through the dry down. And like I said, it is just, yeah, very luxurious, like very vacation-y, very like Santorini Islands, wearing some linen on the white and blue architecture. Like, I can just see it, bro. Super premium, super summery, super fresh. And I think you could be wearing it at any sort of, in any sort of weather in your day to day, because it is fresh, right? And fresh just sort of gets that baseline exception through weather. And the performance for a fresh, heavy fragrance is still beyond what I'd say beyond average, right? Beyond baseline. It's very impressive, very luxurious. And I would say it leans more towards a fancier warm weather, right? Very appropriate for special events, special occasions, a wedding, a warm date night, that sort of thing. It is very pleasing and it is very easy to put on. Very perfect for a special summery event. Now, next up in 6th place, we have something from Initio, and it's going to be Side Effect. Now, Side Effect is this beautiful, heavy fragrance. I mean, hard hitter, intoxicating, long lasting fragrance, bro. There's this very boozy, rum, tobacco, spicy fragrance, and some cinnamon as well. That is really, I think those are like the 3 key ingredients, honestly. Just the tobacco, the rum, and the cinnamon. There might be a little bit of a vanilla in there as well, because it is a bit sweet, but it is seriously incredible. It's seriously intoxicating. Now, I usually draw comparison between this and Ultra Male from Jean Paul Gaultier because of their longevity and because of similar occasion and events. For Ultra Male, I'm usually saying, you know, more house party, more youthful sort of nightclub vibes. And with Side Effect, I think you could totally get away with it in those events as well. But this just leans a bit more grown, a bit more mature, more towards jazz club, more towards cigar lounge sort of vibes. I'd say that this one is just even more long lasting than the Jean Paul Gaultier, right? And I think you could wear it on a date night as well. I would just say give the same advice. You want to pull it back when you're applying this fragrance, you know, maybe just 1 or 2 sprays, especially on a date night. You know, you want to keep it light, especially if you're picking up your date, you know, pick up your girl, you're going to catch her like sort of like giving you a side eye, smelling you and like rolling the window down and gasping for air. But Side Effect really is just this beautiful, long-lasting nightlife sort of fragrance. Nightlife really captures this fragrance. And also the compliment factor on this one as well. It makes you stand out in those sort of events, right? When I have worn this out to lounges and clubs and stuff like that, it not only has garnered me compliments, but you smell so unique and different. You start to smell other people. You smell the Sauvage. Sometimes you might smell the Aventus, right? But then this, it's just something different, right? And it's beautiful. Now for our number 5 spot, we have a fragrance from Mancera, and it is going to be Cedrat Boisé. Now this one is one of my newer pickups, right? It's been some months since I've gotten this one, maybe 3-4 months. And this one, it's so versatile as well. I don't know if I would say the versatility is beyond Dylan Blues, but it's definitely nearing Dylan Blues. The longevity and projection of this fragrance, first of all, is incredible. It's definitely beyond baseline. The scent profile on this one, okay, I couldn't put my finger on it at first, right? And this always happens. There is a fragrance contemporary of mine. Her name is Melissa Nacional, and you should absolutely check her out. She nails fragrance. I can really trust her no matter what she says. It's when it comes to fragrance, seriously. And she's so honest about everything. And she nails the explanations of things. So when I listen to her, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I smell. And she was able to put it into words perfectly. And she does it every single time, bro. And she knows it because I've told her, okay? And when it comes to Cedrat Boisé, it is the opening note, this fruitiness that seems so nostalgic and familiar to me. And when she said it, I was like, yeah, that's it. And she said that it smells like when you walk into a Jamba Juice. And it really does. When you spray this, it smells like that in the best way possible. As soon as you spray this, the opening notes smell like that for the first maybe, for me, like 5-15 minutes most maybe. And then it starts to get that middle of the dry down sort of vibe, and it becomes this more woodsy, musky vibe, but not too overwhelmingly masculine, musky and woodsy. It's still this very fresh, summery, woodsy vibe. And it's done in the best, probably the best way possible that I've smelled a woodsy musk pulled off for a summery vibe at least. And it's so mass appealing and so easy to wear. Seriously, I mean, you can get compliments from anybody. I will say this one seems to garner some more compliments from women, which is surprising to me because I would think with the woodsy and muskiness, it would be more like guys being like, oh yeah, that's hard, bro. I like that. But since it is a fresher fragrance, but it does have those woods and that musk, I think you can really, really pull this off any time of day, any sort of weather throughout the day, right? It's going to be a perfect day-to-day sort of fragrance. Now, this next fragrance in our number 4 spot is a personal favorite of mine, like just full biased opinion. I adore this fragrance, and it is going to be from Yves Saint Laurent, and it is going to be Tuxedo. Now, Tuxedo, oh my Lord, not to overhype this or anything, but for me, to my nose, this fragrance is the fragrance, bro. It is this patchouli-based fragrance with lots of spices underneath as well, as you can see. Patchouli and spices. It is, I mean, you smell the patchouli immediately, right? And it is covered in this amber, and it is so beautiful and long lasting as well. It's so beautiful for, you know, special events. I mean, it is called Tuxedo, right? It would be perfect for a wedding, perfect for a groom, perfect for a more dressier date, right? If you're going to wear this on a date, you should not be wearing, you know, cargo shorts and a t-shirt or a tank top or anything like that, right? It is a bit more special. And as you can see, I've worn it to things that have not been that special. I got a little addicted, and I had to, like, you know, I had to lock it away for a little bit and sort of go through my withdrawals. It is this very patchouli heavy, ambery fragrance with some, I'd say warm spiciness to it as well. Maybe more of a fresh spicy, more peppery spicy. Yeah, but it is built more for that cooler weather. I think there is a bit of sweetness from a vanilla as well. But yeah, this is so beautiful for cooler weather and nighttime. And it is something that you can just put on forever and be addicted to, man. I will love this fragrance till the day I die. And the, I know I already said it, but the longevity and projection is probably 2 or 3 notches above your average fragrance, right? It's not going to be side effect, ultra male Jean Paul Gaultier heavy, but it is going to be way beyond solid. And the compliment factor on this one as well has garnered me it's been pretty neutral between both genders. It's been pretty neutral on who's complimented me for this. I would say it just leans a tad bit more heavy towards the feminine appeal, towards the feminine nose. Now for our number 3 spot in 3rd place is going to be a fragrance from Jomashop, and it is going to be Naxos. Now Naxos, as you may have heard me say in the past, I believe it is like the king of date night fragrances. It is my favorite for date night fragrances. I have a whole video dedicated towards, you know, top 10 date night fragrances, and you don't even have to go and watch it, bro, because this is number 1. I'll just tell you right now. This has been perfect for date nights for me. It's been perfect just in general, right? It is this very sweet, honey, vanillin, and tobacco based fragrance, right? And there's also some tonka bean, I believe, that matches that sweetness with the vanilla, and it just combines itself very, very well. The longevity and projection on this one does not play around. I would say it's probably similar to Tuxedos as well, and maybe a notch or 2 heavier. Smelling this one right away would probably give more unisex vibes, and I think that's probably why it has such a beautiful mass appeal and appeal to the feminine nose, is because of that sweetness is very, very unisex. But I think that tobacco in this fragrance brings it back to more of a neutral, masculine fragrance as well. So it doesn't lean too feminine sweet, you know what I mean? And it's a different sweetness as well. It's not just this like in-your-face vanilla. It's not this in-your-face tonka. It's both of those combined with the honey to give it this, it's just so beautiful, man. And it's so much more intimate, right? It's such a great date night fragrance, bro. And it's garnered me so many compliments. I've got to admit, I've worn it to things more than just date nights, right? I've just kind of worn it around too during the night, and it's garnered me just compliments in passing from that as well, right? Maybe even, you know, sometimes I wear it to like just to run errands or something, bro. Maybe I get some compliments at the grocery store. No one has to know that I'm not just wearing it to date night. Like I said, a beyond gorgeous fragrance that I believe is just absolutely crafted for date night scenarios. Now for our number 2 spot in 2nd place, this is going to be, you got to hear me out because this is going to sound a bit controversial and a bit confusing, but you just got to hear me out, bro. Trust me. Our number 2 spot is going to be the Aventus DNA or Aventus Cologne DNA. And notice that I'm saying DNA instead of just, in your face Creed Aventus or in your face Creed Aventus Cologne, right? Creed Aventus, you've heard the hype, bro. You've probably heard the hype. And I heard the hype growing up and looking towards the fragrance scene this whole time as well, right? Let's just get out of the way. It is overhyped. I have not smelled the pre-2016, pre-2017 Aventus. I don't know if it is as good as people say, but it's not this crazy, perfect fragrance. It's a great fragrance. I love how it smells as well, but it is not this panty dropper fragrance as so many of these other influences and fragrance contemporaries are saying, bro. It is more of this, you get so many compliments from other men, which is cool and all, but it's like, bro, like I want some compliments from women too when I'm wearing my stuff, bro. Now, when I used to work for Creed, it was this same scenario that I would see every single day, multiple times a day, where a gentleman would come up with his girlfriend or wife, whatever, and would come up and he'd be, excited. He'd be like, yeah, I never smelled Creed. I've heard so much about Aventus and I really want to smell Aventus. I'm like, yeah, bro. And it would always, make my day. Cause I'm like, yes, bro. Like the excitement of getting to smell niche and luxurious fragrance that you've never smelled before, right? You hear so much about it online maybe, and you're just like, bro, I want to smell it so bad. I get that excitement, bro. And it would make my day to help people out like that, bro. So gentleman would come up, ask to smell Aventus. I'd spray it for him, let him spray it. And when he would smell it, when he would smell the card, he would be like, oh my gosh, like I get it now. Like this is amazing. This is the best thing ever, right? And he'd pass it to his girlfriend or to his wife, right? And the woman would take it and she'd smell it. And she'd be like always would have this confused look on her face, being like, is he joking with me? Like, it's not like, sometimes they'd be like, oh, yeah, I could see how you really like it or whatever, but maybe it's just not my thing. Maybe not within my taste. And sometimes the other half would be like, playing around there, be like, you are not getting this. Like, what are you thinking? It would always just be so polarizing, right? Between the feminine nose and the masculine nose. And it's just like this fragrance, even to me, when I first smelled it, I smelled it and I was like, this is really good, but there's something just a little bit off on the bottom of it. And it is what I believe to be, also shout out Melissa Nacional for putting this into words because I could not find the verbiage for this. But when she explained it, she said she believes it's that smokiness on the bottom, those base notes, that smokiness is what's so off-putting to the feminine nose. And I was like, yes, that is exactly it. And that is how I felt as well. I was like, there's that smokiness on the bottom that doesn't fit. And it does seem to be less appealing to the feminine nose. And I was like, wait, why is it less appealing to my nose as well? Because I'm a man and maybe I have a feminine nose and maybe I'm insecure about it as well. But we don't have to talk about that right now because we're here to talk about you and the perfect, most complimented fragrance for you. So, but like I said in the beginning, the Aventus DNA or Aventus Cologne DNA. Now the Aventus Cologne is a different Aventus than this. It is this in the more gray wrapped bottle. And it is going to be a much fresher take on Aventus. Pretty much the entire same profile, except they remove that smokiness on the bottom and then they replace the top note of lemon with a mandarin orange. I feel like I'm working for Creed again. And when I would put Aventus Cologne on, sometimes I would hang out with some friends from work and I'd have the Aventus Cologne on and they would not like the original Aventus, right? They understood that it was popping and everything, but specifically this one girl, and she asked me, she was like, what are you wearing? Like, it smells really good. And I was like, it's Aventus Cologne. And she was like, no, absolutely. Like, I refuse to believe it. And I was like, no, it's the Cologne version, like the gray bottle. And she's like, oh, okay. Cause she could not fathom the original Aventus smelling that way, right? She really did not appreciate or like the Aventus, right? Her nose just was not appreciative of Aventus. But with Aventus Cologne, it just made it so much more tolerable, made that bottom portion of the fragrance so much more tolerable, and the top is so much fresher, right? It's so much nicer. Now, longevity and projection, sadly for the overwhelming majority of Creed fragrances, is really upsetting, especially relative to the price point that you'll pay for them, right? So you want to opt for a dupe or a clone, right? Now, I used to preach about Armaf's Club de Nuit Intense Man, right? Because this really, for me, was garnering me stupid amounts of compliments, bro. Genuinely stupid amounts of compliments. And when I smelled it, I was like, wow, this is really on the nose with Creed Aventus, but it also makes that smokiness just a bit more tolerable. I don't know if I could say anymore if it, I mean, it does smell a bit fresher since it sort of tames that smokiness on the bottom, and that citrus is so strong on the top as well. The longevity and projection of this one has been incredible. I always just picked up my bottles from Amazon. I've gone through several bottles of this, right? This one's literally almost empty. The thing with this though, that I'm scared to put people on now is that I've gotten just a couple comments more recently that I've seen that have been like, I trusted you. I got a Club de Nuit Intense Man and it smells awful, bro. Like it doesn't, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, bro, what? Like, no, I thought you could trust me. Like, I swear this is the thing. Like, I've had so many other overwhelmingly positive comments about getting this for themselves or getting it as a gift. And people were like, wow, it smells amazing and it lasts so much longer. And I've just heard so many great takes on it. So then I went to the Amazon page and I saw that like I sorted it by like most recent. And I saw that the last 5 people gave it like a 1 out of 5 star. And I was like, oh my gosh, did they change the formula? So I do have to pick up another bottle to test it out for myself, because even with those reviews, I couldn't make out if people were being, you know, for real about it or if they're, you know, it was a weird situation, bro. But other than Club de Nuit Intense Man, unless there's some amazing Aventus cologne dupe out there that I haven't gotten my nose on, I was put on to something from Solario Oros, or maybe it's from Dumont. It's from Dumont, I apologize. And it is going to be Solario Oros. And this bottle right here, the Aventus DNA in here is really spot on, but it has this more sweet bottom profile, right? Those base notes are a lot sweeter than smoky. And I think in theory, this would make it a perfect Aventus for the feminine nose, right? I haven't gotten too many opinions. I've not worn it out much just because I've just been wanting to wear other things, right? And I picked this up just within the past few months as well. So I haven't been able to, you know, try it out, go out with it, or even ask anybody about it. Well, I have asked one person and she said that she enjoyed it, right? She wasn't overwhelmed or anything by it or anything like that, didn't give any crazy response, but she said she enjoyed it. But other than that, I would just think in theory, this would work fantastically, especially if you're wanting to wear this more on like a date night or a night out sort of thing, more cooler weather Aventus vibe. But I will have to pick up another bottle of Club de Nuit Intense Man for myself and see if it's done, bro. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's not retired, but because this was super long lasting. Now for our first place fragrance, I'm going to finish the story I was telling with Aventus because it will segue perfectly into it. When I would spray Aventus for a gentleman and he would pass it to his girlfriend or wife or whatever, she'd smell it and she'd be like, absolutely not. Or be like, it's all right, yeah, whatever. All while that's going down, I had learned after the first few times to spray a different fragrance all while that is happening. And that fragrance was Silver Mountain Water from Creed as well. Now, I would spray the Silver Mountain Water on a blotter cart and pass it to them while they're arguing. And she would smell it and she would be like, almost have the same exact reaction that the man would have to Aventus. And she would smell it and she'd be like, oh my gosh, like if you're getting anything, it's this. And he would smell it too. And for the majority of the time, he'd be like, oh my gosh, like this is really good. Like I like that a lot. No, you're right. But there were the times where, you know, the Aventus is just so good to the masculine nose, especially that they're just like, oh, I really want the Aventus though. But Silver Mountain Water overall, especially to the feminine nose, is such a winner, bro. Now it is this very ozonic green tea sort of niche fragrance, very clean, very summery, very, like I said, ozonic, just like fresh air, pure oxygen sort of fragrance, right? Very like vacation-y, natural, waterfall, hike vibes, man. It is so clean. Not just this fresh, overwhelmingly like in your face citrus fresh or anything like that. It's just this very more like clean, just like ozonic fragrance, bro. The only thing with this though is that it is like the overwhelming majority of fragrances from the House of Creed. Its longevity and projection is so upsetting that you will have to reapply this so much, and for the price of, you know, it was like $470 USD before tax when I was working for Creed. It is ridiculous how much you would have to reapply this and how costly, inefficient it is. So there are some dupes out there, and I have a whole video on it, but you don't even have to go there, bro, because I'm just going to show you right now what those dupes and clones are. And I'll even start from first place, and I'll show you the top 3 for me. So the dupe that I found to be the best overall is going to be another fragrance from Armaf, and it's going to be Derby Clubhouse Blanche. Now this fragrance, the thing with this is that it gets the profile super close. It gets really close to Silver Mountain Water. It's got the green tea note. It's got that inkiness as well. There's like this inkiness in Silver Mountain Water, and it sounds, you know, if you haven't smelled it before, it probably sounds a little off-putting or like inkiness, but that's what makes it so like fresh and ozonic and piercing and clean, right? It gets that inkiness in here. It gets the green tea. It gets that freshness. The only thing with this is it's a bit more watery. And when I say watery, I don't mean watered down. I mean like more like purified water, more easygoing, less piercing sort of vibe. Just a much more floaty and easy to wear fragrance. Now I will say the longevity and projection on this one is probably just one notch above Silver Mountain Water's performance. But price-wise, I think you could buy like over 20 bottles of Derby Clubhouse Blanche instead of buying one bottle of Silver Mountain Water. And they're both 100 milliliters as well. Could you imagine having like 20 bottles of this just like lined up in your house? People would think you're like an absolute psycho, bro. Wait. And for like my second place dupe of Silver Mountain Water, we have something from Rasasi, and it's going to be Al Wassam Day, I believe. Al Wassam Pour Homme. And it is going to be this, the white and silver bottle right here. The thing with this is its profile is very similar to Silver Mountain Water. You smell it and you're like, wow, that's definitely going for a Silver Mountain Water vibe, or Silver Mountain Water dupe. But it is a bit more rosy, musky instead of a green tea, I believe. And it's this very pretty rose though, right? I wouldn't like hear that and be like, you know, I would hear rose and I'd probably be like, ooh, like, I don't know. But it is this more masculine, but very floaty, pretty, light rose. And I don't mean like light as in you won't smell it that much, because you'll absolutely smell the rose. But it's just like this very like you just picture like a dew with, like a rose with some dew on it. And this one leans a bit more musky than just like straightforward clean. I think it's a beautiful take on it. I'm not wearing it too often, but I think it is very, very cool. And the longevity and projection on this one, I think since it is more rosy musky, is going to be a lot better than the original Silver Mountain Water. And for my third place, and the last fragrance that I'll be showing you right now, is going to be Sun Java White for Men from Franck Olivier. I believe it's Franck Olivier. This one is very Silver Mountain Water-esque. I wouldn't call it like a straight up dupe of Silver Mountain Water, because it has this much more like beachy, poolside, sunscreeny vibe to it. And it's in the best way possible, right? This is something that I sometimes wear to the pool, right? And I'm just like, yes, like it just feels so good. It smells great. I'm like, this is like the perfect fragrance to be wearing here. It also, you know, helps that this kind of also looks like something like a thing of sunscreen as well, right? But it's just this very sunny, beachy Silver Mountain Water sort of take. And I think it's just really cool, bro. Anyways, that is going to wrap it up here. I really hope this video was genuinely valuable to you, man. If you want more stuff like this on your feed, or you're getting into fragrance and stuff, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to drop a like on the video. Also, feel free to comment if you have any questions or just want to say anything. Also, don't hesitate to reach out to me on Instagram. I'll leave my Instagram down below as the first link probably. And seriously, feel free to shoot me a DM about anything. If you have any questions about fragrance or anything else, just let me know, and I'm always getting back to you, man. I've had so much great support with everything, and so many great DMs and in conversations with everybody, so it's been a blessing. So thank you for that, genuinely. But with all that being said, brother, let's get to smelling better. Have a good one. Godspeed and God bless.